Hello everyone, and in this video I'm going to show you how to create a loading bar for your scene in Unity Engine. Simply we need to create a new script, and we're going to use this script to control the loading of our scene and our UI elements. Now what we simply did here that we include our scene management to access our scene manager. This string that will be our scene, what scene are we loaded, it will be the name of our scene, and here is the function that we're going to call when we want to load a scene. Now why making this an emulator? Because load scene async is actually a coroutine. Now the normal load scene function will actually pause the game and give full resources to load the destinations, while loads in async actually loaded asynchronously in the background and does not pause the game. We can actually create a variable and access the properties of our progress. Now what I simply did here that we have an async operation, and I'm going to access our operation variable, which is done. This the scene is done. If not, then we're going to wait to the next frame. Now of course you can access all the properties, which is if allow activation, do you want to activate the scene once it's loaded, and if it is done, if the loading is done or not, and our progress. Now simply I'm going to debug our progress while we are loading, and I simply when I press the H key just call the function, and since this is an enumerator which is a coroutine, we can't call it normally, so we have to use the start coroutine method. We're going to attach our loading bar to the camera, and we want to put our target scene. We copy the name and assign it here. Now we need to actually have our scenes in the built-in scene here. Normally, if we want to load a scene, it must be included here. In my case, they are already included. Let's test this out. And yep, it worked, and here the debug.log of our progress. Now simply our progress jumped from 0 to 0.9 simply because the destination scene does actually have nothing. It only have a character and a plane. So it will be very fast to load. The second thing that why it ended on 0.9, not 1, this is because Unity load the scene on two stages. The first stage is actually loading, which is loading the game object of the destination scene, the component, and all behaviors. Then, when the loading is complete and the scene is ready, we go to the second stage, which is activation. In this stage, you need to simply activate the new scene after it disposes the older one. So simply we load everything we have in the destination scene, then when it is ready, we dispose of the older scene, then we activate the new one. Now if we want to fix that, simply what we want to make a simple math equation. Simply this is what we want to do. The mathf.clamp simply clamp our return variable between 0 and 1, and we divide it by 0.9, and simply instead of debugging our progress, we debug our float variable. And yep, it actually works, and now it ended on 1. Now as you can see, our code is working fine, but it is now the time to actually add our loading bar. Simply I created a new canvas, I added an image and scaled it to our screen, and I created a new slider which is going to be our loading bar. Now in order for us to use a UI element, we need to include the Unity Engine.ui. Simply what we done here, that we create a game object that which will be reference our canvas, and we need to access our slider. We need to modify the value of our slider based on our progress, and whenever we want to actually call the function, we're going to enable the canvas. And yep, it works very fine. Now as you can see, the loading was so fast. As I mentioned before, the destination scene contained nothing. To make our test more accurate, I imported the low poly brick house from the asset store. It is completely free and the link is available in the description. We need to add it here. I'm going to copy its name and let's test this out. Yep, as you can see, our loading bar worked perfectly as we did actually saw the progress. And here in our frame we can see the progress as a log. Now if you want to add a text to your loading bar, this is actually very simple. Now I just created a new text that will hold the text of our loading bar. Simply all what I added is I'm going to reference our tags, and while we are loading I'm going to put our PR variable, our progress multiplied by 100, and I'm just adding the percentage sign. Let's test that. And yep, it works fine. Of course, because the loading was so fast, it is not very accurate and we can see that very quickly. But the bigger the scene, the more time it needs. And basically, this is how you create a loading bar in Unity Engine. Alright, I hope you enjoyed this video and would like to see you next time.